What's good, guys? It's your boy Jones, and this is Jones for Sports. And welcome to another episode of Locker Room Sundays. As always, I'm joined with my host, Luke. Luke, what's good, boy?
What up? Been a while.
It's been a while, but you're back. We're glad to have you back, especially with everything going on. We haven't seen you in a while, so I'm
Yeah,
glad to.
well, when baseball went away, so did I.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what normally happens when sports go away. It brings everyone back because we have nothing else to watch and shit like that. But
hmm
um, well, before I get into what we're going to talk about, which is obviously the NFL free agency, a lot of moves been made, a lot of interesting things, a lot
Yep.
of questions. So me and Luke are going to talk about that. But before we get into that, first, go subscribe, hit that subscribe button, share, like, and comment
Oh
if
yeah.
you feel like commenting. And also, we want to announce that you guys, I know you guys have seen posts about a new series coming out, and that a name that we wanted to get you guys involved with, which you guys helped vote for, which is That's Debatable. And it will be our new Jones for Sports podcast series. So every once in a while, when you see that podcast series, it will be me, Luke, and E just debating some of the greatest sports topics and debates you've ever, heard, conversations you've had with your friends, your parents, whoever. We will have those conversations.
Yep.
We'll also get you, the fans, as well involved. So be on the lookout for that because it's going to be a lot of fun, something that not too many people are doing right now in the podcast series. So definitely looking forward to that. But what we came to talk about, what we're all excited about because, like we said before, there's no sports right now. So
Yep.
when we anything right now, it's exciting, and we can't wait to talk about it. And right now, the NFL is back into season pretty much with
Yep.
the free agency starting, and the biggest question of them all coming into the free agency series was, where is Tom Brady gonna go? Is he gonna somehow end up back in New England? Is he going to land in San Francisco? Is he going to go to Oakland? I mean, there were so many teams that we heard that he was possibly going to, and now we're coming to find out the last team that I expected is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Luke, what are your first thoughts on that?
It makes total sense. I mean, think about it. He's coming off his worst offensive year, probably of his entire career,
Mhm.
um, due to lack of weapons. And we knew not having Gronk would hurt,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
we also at the same time, and I didn't think this would happen so quickly. It looked like we saw Julian Edelman kind of start the regress,
Right.
which was inevitable. Just time
Yeah,
catches
that's what's
everybody.
happening. Yeah.
But I didn't realize how terrible that offense is without a legitimate stud at tight end.
Yeah.
That wasn't coming anytime soon because this is not a tight end class where there's a Hawkinson and Fant where you can replace that production. And the wide receivers were, Edelman could do what he does. That's fine, but that's not going to get you points. N'Keal
Yeah,
Harry getting
exactly.
hurt. Just all the signs pointed to him going elsewhere. Ultimately, it came down to, we know, Tampa and the LA Chargers. I'm surprised the Chargers didn't bid more. You're coming into a
Yeah.
new stadium where you are the second fiddle in that town.
Mhm.
Everyone in LA that I've ever seen is a Rams fan.
Beautiful stadium, by the way.
Oh, it looks fucking awesome. Nothing
It
like
looks
the
amazing.
Raiders stadium looks incredible, but that Rams Charger duo looks fucking
Yeah.
equally nice.
Yeah, the Raiders one too. Looks amazing.
Yeah, but the Chargers have a notorious attendance problem. A professional team should not have a problem filling an MLS stadium.
Hmm.
Tom Brady would have put asses in seats and sold PSLs. That's
Yeah.
just that's just what he does.
Hmm.
Um, if you're the Chargers, this is a humongous loss.
Yeah.
This will hurt you because you have Keenan Allen. You have
You have the weapons.
you put the tag on Hunter Henry, who,
Hmm.
in my opinion, is a better tight end than OJ Howard.
Hmm.
You have the weapons. You have
You
Mike
have
Williams. You have
Ethan.
everything. You have everything that Tampa has,
Hmm.
except for Bruce Arians.
Right.
That, to me, I think won the day for Tampa.
I think so too.
Bruce Arians has a known rapport with quarterbacks, like specifically Roethlisberger when we were in our dynasty run.
Yep.
You know, I think that matters. And again, no offense to the Chargers and what Anthony Lynn and what what they're doing over there, but we've seen the Chargers they've almost become like a saying, like, oh, well, like the Browns are going to Brown,
right,
the Chargers are going to Charger.
Exactly.
So, like, am I surprised they missed on him? No, I figured they would have pushed harder.
Right. I agree. I think they would have definitely pushed harder, and it would have made sense because, like you said, everything that they had coming in the future only makes more sense to bring one of the biggest names in football to your city. So, which would have made it just that much more sweet. So why not, throw everything at them? But
listen, old people ride out the sunset in Florida, so we're not surprised.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
But again, just to finish the comparison for what it is, if you look at Tampa, you have Mike Evans, who's just an elite wide receiver. He just is.
Absolutely. Pro Bowler.
Chris Godwin is right there with him, just ascending.
Another Pro Bowler.
Kid's a skyrocket right now. And O.J. Howard, I think, needs this type of quarterback to get back to what he was doing in Alabama.
Exactly.
What the Chargers could have offered, just with Eckler, who we saw even when he was splitting carries and touches with Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Eckler's better than Ronald Jones.
Yes.
He just is. If you look at these teams are very similarly constructed. I don't understand why. I mean, granted, you don't have Arians, and that probably won the day. But you could have at least money speaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And Brady's a California kid. Like you could have made this happen.
Absolutely. They did, like you said, they didn't try hard enough. And he slipped away and said no. So, but when I first heard that he was going to the Bucs, at first it was just, thrown back by it, but not because of it. It's not a team. It's a team that doesn't make sense because, like you said, it makes all the sense.
Yeah.
For every reason why that you broke it down, but we don't see a name like Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers. When you think about Tom Brady, you think about elite teams. Elite team, which being the Patriots, and a team that's owned 2 decades to the Buccaneers, who actually won the last champion. Was it 2000 before the Brady started?
Oh, something like that.
Something like that. So, it's interesting. They haven't been relevant since. So it's very interesting what that team's going to look like. But I think it does make sense because, like you said, you got an experienced coach who's coached quarterbacks like Big Ben and guys like that who's been in that position. So someone that Brady can trust. I think that's.
And let's also be real. In terms of the system fit too, Arians is just miles ahead of, I think, whatever offensive play calling capability that the Patriots would have had at this point. Like I understand Belichick is there, but when it comes to a West Coast offense, you hear me now?
Yeah. All right.
So let me backtrack that.
Mm-hmm.
From a system standpoint, Arians is a pass-heavy offense. So Brady's going to be throwing 35 times a game I would say, minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a fit here. It just is. And he's got better weapons.
The only thing that I would say would be different or might be an adjustment for at least the receivers is they're used to Jameis Winston, who is a downfield quarterback, someone that likes to throw the football downfield. Tom Brady is not that type of quarterback. He likes to get the ball out of his hands fast. So they're going to need to find I think it's going to be important for them to find those slot receivers, those quick guys that are used for Brady to get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
And obviously Brady had Randy Moss, so he's used to, guys that can go over the top and things like that, but he's not that same quarterback anymore. So
yeah. I think what you see is a redefinition of Godwin's role.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Evans just because he's so fucking huge.
Right. You gotta use him.
He's kind of your downfield guy. I mean, he
Right.
can run the middle. I would rather keep him in the 6'5" guy role.
Right. Absolutely.
Godwin strikes me as the more shifty.
And he can play that role like what's his name, the tight end from the Patriots,
Gronk.
Gronk, where you can just throw it up and he'll go get it.
Yeah.
So he's used to that. I'm sure he's used to that, and
yeah,
that can be something that they can both work out. But
the other thing to bear in mind too, if you're Tampa, this is one of the best receiver classes we've had in the draft in the last 5 years. So you don't even have to waste a first-round pick on a receiver. You can keep building your defense or add an O-lineman because it's another good O-line class.
Right.
Like you can find good receiver talent in like the second, third round, and a guy whose like specific role is to be Julian Edelman or Danny Amendola. Any of those guys that had massive success under Brady.
Exactly. And other than the Bucs signing Brady, I was just a little thrown back and shocked on how many teams were just like, no, we're okay. We don't need Brady. The Titans signed Ryan Tannehill right away. The Raiders signed Mariota right away. Yeah. I mean, all these teams that we thought Brady had a chance of going. The Chargers not even throwing as much money and going after him as hard. It was a little shocking because we all thought and we all heard that Brady was going to be the big market this year. But obviously, I think some of these teams have seen and realized that maybe throwing everything for Tom Brady at this point in his career isn't the smartest decision. So I think that those teams made those decisions based off of that.
Well, yeah, I think Tom Brady is a rare case where he and really only Peyton Manning can be a commodity at the age at which they hit the free agent market.
Right.
Aside from that, who wants 42-year-olds don't even get signed as a fucking kicker.
Absolutely.
So you have to, I mean, there's no arguing that Tom Brady is an elite quarterback and is a surefire Hall of Famer. But you can only be a commodity at that age when you are that good.
Right.
And for a team like Tampa or the Chargers, it made sense. The teams you saw go after him made sense. It wasn't some random bullshit, like the fucking Bears just out of nowhere, which would have made sense. Right. But at least you could understand, you have a young quarterback in the works here.
Absolutely.
So I ultimately the suitors made sense. The weapons around him made sense. The money, sure.
Right. It was.
You knew it was going to cost.
Right. Exactly.
I'm kudos to the Bucs, like I said. I personally think that division is due for a little bit of changing in terms of not the top spot, because I don't think Tampa is quite with New Orleans yet.
Right.
But I think this 100% puts Tampa ahead of, I would say, Carolina. I like Teddy Bridgewater, but they haven't replaced Kuechly yet.
Exactly.
So Carolina, to me, you have work to do. And like Brady versus Breeze twice a year for the next guaranteed 2 years, because Breeze re-upped.
Right, 2 years.
That's going to be fucking awesome.
That is going to be something.
Yeah, anytime, could you imagine, like the one thing we never had with Brady versus Peyton Manning was they never were in the same division.
Exactly.
So that added leverage to their games just on the back of like circumstance, or whether it was the playoffs or late in the season, like week 15, week 16, like wild card and division clinching spots on the line.
Exactly.
That always helped. Twice a year of guaranteed good, like this is Monday Night Football 100%, or at least Sunday night primetime.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, without question.
But like you said, I agree. It's going to take some time for the Bucs to get to that level.
Yeah.
but I think it helps and it definitely rearranges
Mm-hmm.
division. The last thing on Brady, I have to ask you is now that Brady and Belichick have separated, who has more success? We know we only got 2 years with Brady left. In these 2 years, who's going to have more success? Tom Brady and the Bucks or Bill Belichick and the Patriots?
I will go ahead and say I'm gonna go ahead and say Brady. I'm gonna be 100%
Okay.
honest. Because I think that the core of that Tampa team is young. It's under contract, so it's minimal flux. Bruce Arians is not going fucking anywhere. And if you look at
Mm-hmm.
even like the Diggs trade to Buffalo, I think we've officially reached the point in the NFL where the NFC or the AFC East is not the Pats guarantee anymore.
Right. Exactly.
And not to mention the Pats also losing guys like Van Noy. This hurts
Mm-hmm.
them. This
It does.
hurts. It just does.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, that's my opinion. But again, Tampa has work to do, and it's not
Right.
on offense. So Tampa's not some perfect Super Bowl. They're not. I'm not going to put them a contender yet.
Right. Right.
They're immensely improved, but they're not elite yet.
Right.
They're just not.
For me, I'm gonna agree with you for the 2 year span at least. Um, I think the Bucks will probably have a little bit more success for the same reason you just said. The Buffalo's here now, and
Yeah.
I think that's going to be their division for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Until the Jets and Miami make more moves and become stronger there. But Buffalo is a team that everyone should be reckoned with because we saw what they did last year, and they
Yep.
just added more pieces to their team and made it tougher. And now they don't have that juggernaut in the Patriots anymore. So I think that's going to be their division. But I will say I don't think it's the end of the Patriots, and I don't think it's the end of Belichick. I think
No.
Belichick eventually, within a year or two, will get that team back to competing for playoffs. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say championships anymore. If you don't have that guy Brady there anymore, or an elite quarterback, I'm not going to put the Patriots in that conversation anymore. But I think they will be a team to still, kind of like the Warriors. I mean, it's a little bit of different situation because they still have Clay and Steph, but they're not the same juggernaut like they were when they had KD. You know what I mean? So that's how I'm comparing it. But for the next 2 seasons, it's going to be the Brady and the Bucks for
Yeah.
sure.
I would think it's hard to argue. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just be real. Everything is on the upswing in Tampa, even before Brady got there.
Right. Exactly. It's
That's
just
all it is.
Jameis made it worse. So now let's talk about our teams. We'll start with your team, Pittsburgh. Didn't make a big splash, but they made a little bit of a splash. Want to talk about what they did?
Our splashes are not in who we've added. It's who we lost.
Yeah.
For people who don't understand how good Javon Hargrave is, or understand who or how Javon Hargrave is as a player via, let's say, Madden, doesn't do it any justice. Granted, him going to Philly makes a ton of sense because him and Cox are going to destroy the middle.
Yeah.
Especially since he's not the anchor, 3-tech.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Hilton is still available. I hate that we still have Bud Dupree.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking hate it. For a baseball analogy, if you go 1 for 5, does that mean you deserve $18 million? No. You
Right.
batted 200. There's no reason. And also, edge rushers, I'm not going to say they're a dime a dozen, but the better guys on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Dupree has a good season only because of TJ Watt. He
Exactly.
gets all the attention.
Right.
Not to mention Devin Bush.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Immediately better and proven better then it took Bud Dupree 5 years to earn the trust of Steeler fans.
Mm-hmm.
He was one fuck-up year away from being the next Jarvis Jones.
Oh, yeah.
But Mike Hilton is like the second or third best slot corner in the NFL. We run a heavy nickel system, and that's the guy you're going to let walk?
Yeah.
This makes no sense. Now, on the flip side, at least Mike Hilton's not gone. Hargrave, we got him in the third round. If Tomlin can scout somebody similar, great. Worst case scenario, we have Tyson Alualu, which is not great, but it's better than nothing. And Derek Watt coming in as our one signing so far. I like that move for a couple reasons. One, fullbacks normally don't matter in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's a couple good ones. He's one of them. Secondly, we lost Tyler Matakevich to the Bills. For those of you who don't know, Tyler Matakevich was our special teams ace. He was our version of Matt Slater. Only one person in the NFL had more special teams tackles on kickoff and punt, or not more, had the same number as Matakevich. It's Derek Watt. Thirdly, Roosevelt Nix is very injury prone. Roosevelt Nix, when he came out of college, is also a D tackle by trade. Wouldn't be shocked if he possibly goes into that D-line rotation, vacating the hole for Derek Watt to just be the starting fullback. Or some sort of platoon, however Tomlin and all Finkner want to figure it out. Do what you got to do. But we can't be done. We cleared like $15 million in cap space out of nowhere. So you don't clear that much money to just sign a fucking fullback.
Right. There's definitely something that they're waiting.
And again, we don't have a first round pick. So if you're gonna sign people like last year when we signed Steven Nelson, under the radar signing that paid off immensely. So just stay with the trend. Find your guys. Fucking re-sign Hilton.
Right. So I would say that you're not panicking right now. You're good. Pittsburgh.
Here's why I'm not panicking. Here's why I'm not panicking. We have now, granted, Baltimore is running circles around us in terms of making moves with Campbell and fucking
right.
All these fucking moves. Baltimore's always done that.
Right.
Does Lamar Jackson concern me? How can he not? However, our defense is designed to stop Baltimore. And if we had any quarterback, we would have beaten them at least once last year.
I believe that.
Well, the proof is if Juju didn't fucking fumble in overtime at home,
right.
And again, that was more of a better play by Humphrey than a shitty play by Juju.
Right.
But at least, let's just be real here, we can beat that team. So if at a bare minimum I get Bud Dupree for one more season with Watt, I can contain Lamar Jackson.
Right.
I'm really not that worried.
Oh, that's good.
And I still have Minka for 3 more seasons.
Exactly. That's good.
Everywhere else on this team is progressing just fine. The draft for us is huge. Because we know we like to draft like second, third round receivers. We need one anyway. If the rest of our money goes into signing someone like Jameis Winston to back up Ben, I love that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all.
They're the same, aside from skin color, they're the same fucking same quarterback.
Very true.
Gunslinger, downfield, built tall and husky.
Yep.
It's the same guy. And they've both got experience under Arians, which means there's some sort of similar level of coaching.
Yep.
So for what it's worth, and again, this you can argue, but Jameis strikes me as the kind of guy who would thrive under a black head coach.
Interesting.
He just does. I think I'm not trying to bring race into this.
Right.
Jameis just strikes me as the kind of guy where Tomlin could get into his head.
Right. He would coach him better. Absolutely.
That's all. That's all I'm getting at here.
Right. No, absolutely. It makes
Yeah.
absolutely all the sense in the world.
Now, what about Dallas? Because we saw from now again. If I missed something, please tell me.
Go ahead.
5 years, $100 million for Amari Cooper had to be done. Love it. How could you not?
Mm-hmm.
Byron Jones got overpaid. You and I will agree on that. But Miami had to do what they had to do. You don't seem pissed about that.
Nope.
I know for a fact, due to your Jonesing in a minute, that you and seemingly every other Cowboy fan on the planet is ready to tell Prescott to go fuck himself.
Pretty much got that right.
From the guys I've talked to, you know Matt and Robbie Tricoli.
Yep.
They would rather Prescott just hit the open market at this point.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm not gonna go that far.
Well, their logic I thought was interesting. And again, you Cowboy fans, you're fucking everywhere. You're like the coronavirus. You're just everywhere.
We are.
But yeah, the argument that they made, and I was going to run this by you, but we haven't really talked much due to virus and whatever crap. Their logic was Dak Prescott is not worth $30 million in general. He's just not.
True.
You have all the weapons in the world. And again, the defense is the defense. Dak has nothing to do with that. But you have all these weapons, and you can't even get it. You can't make the playoffs in the worst division in football.
Yeah,
that's a problem. And I don't think it's Dak. It's not because Dak's not a leader. I don't think it has anything to do with intangibles.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe this was just Jason Garrett. But if he's taking a flyer on that 1 year franchise tag deal, just to kind of bet on himself again, I would understand that because this is the reset button's already been hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's your brain telling you?
I hear what they're saying on that for sure. And the thing that upset me, because I didn't know this, that I knew they had to get rid of the two tags and make it one. And I'm not 100% sure what the previous tag value was last year, but for this year he's getting anywhere between $30 and $33 million.
Yeah,
and that's actually what the Cowboys offered him.
Yeah,
so that frustrated me just off of that.
Let me ask you something. So I made this argument. And this is before we even really started doing the podcast. But I remember telling all my people, you included, this is the exact thing that pissed me off when Le'Veon signed for less than what we offered him.
Mm-hmm.
This is the exact same scenario.
Right.
Exactly. He's getting offers that would technically deem him immensely overpaid and turning them down. When you already know, and unless Dak's agent is completely fucking Franks and Beans, he's got to know what the fucking tag amount's going to be.
Right, exactly.
So if you know what the tag is, why wouldn't you take the same number for guaranteed years and just solidify your position as? And also, Emmitt Smith made a fucking great point. He goes, "How dare you? You're the fucking starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Yep. If they offer you 25, you don't think you're going to make another 20 million in fucking endorsements?"
Right. Exactly.
You're already an Adidas athlete going back to Mississippi State, and you're already a Campbell Soup guy and possibly the Dan and Yogurt fucking guy.
Exactly.
You don't think you're going to get more once your situation is like cemented?
Exactly. And that's my thing with it too, is that he knows what this is all about. He knows that he is the face of the Dallas Cowboys, and you can't get any better than that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking hard.
Exactly. It's pretty fucking hard, especially when you're coming off, well, not this season obviously, but you're coming off of a few seasons with winning records, winning divisions and shit like that, going to the playoffs and things like that. But we haven't seen you win the big game. We haven't seen you push the envelope all the way up here to where you can say, look, this is what the fuck I deserve, because in my 3 years, 4 years that I've been here, this is what I did with with this team. But you've got some accomplishments. Those are nice. But when we're talking about championships, we're at least appearances in the NFC Championship. Can we make an appearance before you start asking for top dollar?
Mm-hmm.
But I also have to understand that his manager,
yeah,
his job is to keep the market where it's to keep it going up. So that's where I kind of am like, all right, I get what his guy is doing. He's trying to make sure that nobody going forward gets paid less and keep the market going down. But at the same time, it's just like, why give a guy all this fucking money when you know he's not worth all that money?
Well, yeah, that's
that's obvious. And then when you have an opportunity to put pieces around you to win Super Bowls, people have actually put you in the names of companies that you don't belong in, but they say that you have the potential to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to take a little less in order to reach your full potential as a team. And he's not willing to do that.
Yep.
And that's upsetting as a fan and as someone that's seen guys like Tom Brady, the GOAT as far as quarterbacks, have never been paid top dollar until now.
Also bear in mind, not just Brady, but even yesterday, Roethlisberger took a pay rearrangement to clear.
Right, yeah, I've seen that.
And that's like the third time Ben's done that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And
the greats have the team first mentality. They always did. All these fucking great quarterbacks. And if you ask, just to keep it in Dallas, if you ask Troy Aikman or Roger Staubach, what mattered more, you or the fucking team?
Right.
I gun to my head, they're saying the team.
Right. Exactly.
And granted, Amari Cooper making $20 million a year, you look good because of him and Gallup.
Exactly.
And for what it's worth, the most underrated tight end in football in Blake Jarwin.
Mm-hmm. Who also got a contract, and I'm happy to see that
he got his contract.
Gone. Yep.
So
I'm happy to see that work out that way.
Right. So if all your pieces around you, Zeke got his deal. Why? Because he's a fucking animal.
Mm-hmm.
And he proved it.
Exactly.
Right. But Zeke can't control how many carries he's getting a game because Kellen Moore is a fucking idiot.
Exactly. So and that's what our problem was this year.
Right.
And exposed them.
Right. Well, this was your other problem.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. That was.
But now that he's gone, at least, and again, and McCarthy's probably a pass first guy. We've seen it with Rodgers.
Right.
Everything is in place now for Dak to earn the fucking contract.
Exactly. This is the year to do it.
Go walk.
Absolutely. This is the year to now show, all right.
Right.
And now, to Dak's credit, now he'll even make even more money next year than what he was asking. That's the other thing. We don't know what Dak is asking.
Right.
We've seen the offers the Cowboys are giving, which are way overpaid, but doable.
Yeah, right.
So I can imagine what he's fucking asking. 40 million, 45. I mean, it's unbelievable. So
if I'm Jerry Jones and I know damn well that I've offered a beyond generous offer, let's not forget, in a couple years, you guys have to pay Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch. You have other pieces that need
still have a lot of
you have to pay Gallup soon.
Yep.
There's pieces that need money. Wouldn't be shocked if this deal ends up being front loaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or heavy signing bonus.
That's
what we did. That's how we shuffled all our money, was we put everything in signing bonuses that don't hit us in the cap.
Exactly.
And kudos to the Rooneys for fucking not being stingy with the checkbook. Not to say Jerry Jones is being stingy with the book, but Jesus fucking Christ.
Right.
We were 20 million over and we're doing something. Dak's got to be like, well, other teams and other quarterbacks are trying to do their part to help the cause. Maybe I should do.
Exactly. It's a little frustrating. And the other frustrating thing about it is that this is only going to get in Dak's head about his loyalty to Dallas and their loyalty to him.
Yep.
Now he's thinking, all right, I don't think these guys trust me like that because I'm seeing guys like Wentz and Kirk Cousins, who was in our division at the time, and all these guys get money before me, and I've won more games than these guys. I've won the division, more divisions than these guys. So,
But here's the difference. But Kirk Cousins went to a similarly built team in Minnesota at the time with Thielen and Diggs, Cook, Rudolph.
Right.
Here's the difference. Cousins has gone to the fucking playoffs. Dak hasn't. So even though Kirk Cousins is grossly overpaid,
Dak's gone to the playoffs.
He's getting you in a position to succeed.
Dak's been in the playoffs twice.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying the best team he's ever had was this last season and 8-8.
Right, exactly.
So that's what I'm getting at. I could make the argument that Minnesota was not top to bottom nearly as talented as the Cowboys.
Right.
At least they got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
We all know and the NFL especially is a what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
2 years ago doesn't mean dick.
Yeah.
It's all what did you do this past season? If you have nothing to show for it, and you're still getting offered exactly what the tag was, how are you going to bitch?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation. And
if I were a Cowboy fan, I wouldn't trust Dak at this point. I'd fucking hate him.
I'm not at that point yet because I know how hard it is to get a quarterback and to find one that you're going to stick with for the future. So I'm not willing to go that far. Yeah. But if he doesn't prove it this year, then I'm wiping my hands with him.
Yeah, you have to.
It'll be done. It'll be done after that. But I think I'm confident. I want to say 80% confident that a deal will get done during the season or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
So I think it'll happen, but I'm not going to be happy on whatever number it is because I know if he doesn't prove it, then it's going to be possibly something that bites us in the ass later on in the future. So we'll see what happens, but that's pretty much it, all I got to say about the Cowboys. But I am happy about the Jarwin move to get him. We've seen what he's been able to do with us when he gets the time to actually fucking play.
Yeah.
And not have Witten, who we all love. He's still going to be a Cowboy for life. But
yeah, he had to go.
His time has passed. Yeah, his time has passed. And Jarwin is a very good young tight end, and he needed the opportunities, and he'll get this opportunity this year.
Well, but speaking of the Witten move, because there's a lot of other moves that are, I'm not gonna say flying under the radar, but like they're not the Brady move. They're not they're not the big movers and shakers. Like Witten going to fucking LA to Vegas is huge.
Yeah.
Darren Waller, who's already a stud, is gonna get that much better.
Right.
Blake Jarwin is not athletically as gifted as Darren Waller, but you saw the Witten effect.
Absolutely, you've seen the smarts.
Right. So you can only imagine how beneficial this is going to be to a guy like Waller, who's not getting his starting job taken from him, but just the mentorship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be better for them.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to build over there with his veteranness. But now moving on to more of the bigger names, the bigger moves, the bigger trades that we've seen. And to me, by far the biggest of them all, even bigger than the Brady news, was the Texans have decided to trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, a second-round pick, and I think a fourth as well. As you can see, Luke doesn't understand it either, and he's laughing.
No, it's the dumbest. Okay, so after the Bills-Texans playoff game, that Houston had no business winning, by the way, we are on record saying that.
Right.
What the fuck? If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm asking for a trade.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Will Fuller is never going to play a 17-game season. He's physically incapable of it.
And this is all Bill O'Brien.
Right, but here's what I'm getting at. Not only is DeAndre Hopkins, at bare minimum, a top 5 wide receiver, he's never hurt.
Right.
You couldn't even get a first-round fucking pick?
I couldn't understand that at all.
And then, did you forget that you already have Lamar Miller and Duke Johnson?
And that David Johnson.
You have two useless running backs. Why not add a third? What the fuck? None of this makes any sense. Even Bleacher Report, they put out an article that said Bill O'Brien must be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
This team, granted, Jacksonville is back to rebuilding, so they're not a thing. Tennessee is not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
And Indy just got a legit quarterback.
Right.
So, and for what it's worth, Indy is a playoff caliber team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, this is the Ricky Bobby scenario. If you're not first, you're last.
Mm-hmm.
I said last year before the season, I thought Houston was destined to fuck something up.
Mm-hmm.
They all they did was buy themselves time, prove me wrong, and then shit the bed.
Yep.
This is so bad.
It's
Again,
unthinkable.
Will Fuller can't stay healthy. Kiki QT, ever since he left Texas Tech, can't stay healthy. What are your other pieces? J.J. Watt can't stay fucking healthy.
Right.
And we all love J.J. Watt, but for fuck's sake, he gets hurt more than anybody.
Yep.
You don't have Clowney anymore, and you're not re-signing him.
Yep. It's unbelievable what I mean, you've heard me say it plenty of times, especially when we're actually talking about inside the lines football.
Yeah.
The Texans always somehow fuck it up when they come to the playoffs and Bill O'Brien and shit like that. But for them to fuck it up like this and trade a guy like this makes no sense. For a guy like David Johnson, no diss to David Johnson. He used to be one of the best, if not the best running back when he first came out. His first 2-3 years in Arizona was amazing. But then he just got season after season after season. And he was never the same. He has flashes, but he's not the same. So for them to trade for him in a second and fourth without a first for DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion, top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, what's going on? I feel like there's.
Let's be 100% real. Can you name one receiver in the NFL you would rather have than DeAndre Hopkins?
Probably only Julio. Julio will probably
the only acceptable answers are Julio and Michael Thomas.
That's it.
And
that's it.
DeAndre does everything Julio can do, and he does everything Thomas can do.
Yep.
Therefore, my opinion, to me, he's the best receiver in the NFL.
Right.
I made the argument back, and again, this was this was back when Bill O'Brien was at Penn State. I said he should never leave Penn State because he brought that program back to relevance, coming out of the darkest scandal in the history of college football.
Right.
When he left, I thought, okay, decent head coach, probably better suited as a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Now we saw all of his flaws were on display in that Buffalo game.
Yeah.
And then you gave him the GM role?
Yeah. They gave him more power.
What the fuck? We saw when you give a head coach too much power, i.e. John Gruden, Adam Gase.
There you go.
They fuck things up.
Yep.
When you remove or diminish the X and O role from a head coach, they fuck up.
Yeah.
They that's their job, is to think X's and O's, build a playbook, build a scheme, figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that the Jets brought in Douglas.
Exactly.
To do the actual personnel thinking.
Not everyone can be Bill Belichick.
Correct. Bill Belichick's and again, Belichick is a fucking evil fucking genius.
Right.
So again, unless you have an evil genius, which Bill O'Brien is the most Franks and Beans version of that I can think of. Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. This just doesn't make any sense.
But it helps, and it's great. It makes all the sense for Arizona.
Well, but here's the argument. the Steelers needed a wide receiver. If all it cost was a second, a fourth, and a shitty
Yeah.
running back, I got 3 of those. I have 3 of those, and I have those picks. I could have gotten DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
I have a fucking when that trade went down, I was with a buddy of mine who's a Jet fan. He looked at me and said, there's Robbie Anderson's replacement off the fucking table.
Wow.
Yeah. Every team in the NFL should be shitting themselves saying, that's all this cost?
Yeah.
Diggs cost more.
Yeah, exactly.
And Diggs is a good player. Don't get me wrong.
He is.
But he's not fucking Hopkins. What the fuck?
He is not.
This makes no sense. And how is Bill O'Brien not fired already?
He got a promotion.
Yeah, right, and then he fucked everything up.
And they fucked it up.
And that team didn't have to rebuild. I understand when you are in draft hell, that means you need to do something to recoup picks. Mm-hmm. Then you trade far and away you're at least your second best player when healthy. Because you can still make the argument J.J. Watt's the best player on that team when he's on the field.
Right.
If you're in pick hell, get the fucking picks.
That's it.
You didn't even get the first.
It makes no. I mean,
again,
if we go on to Madden 20 right now, there's no way in hell Madden they would accept that trade. No way in hell.
I can offer 2 firsts and Christian McCaffrey, and the interest bar is going to be that fucking thick. But that's because Madden is completely fucked up now.
Yeah, they are.
But in terms of, like, we're trying to make sense of what might be the dumbest trade in the last 10 years.
Right.
This
Didn't see this coming. Didn't see it coming. It's unbelievable. And everyone for the past few years have been coming for O'Brien's head. And not only did he get a promotion, he adds this to his resume. So, I mean, I have no more questions about O'Brien. It's confirmed he is.
See, how can Bill O'Brien have a job right now? But Rex Ryan, who, in my opinion, is a better fucking coaching mind, is stuck doing shows with Stephen A.
Yep.
Like once every 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There's just sports is always like this, where things that this just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, they give us these head scratchers all the time. And
by the way, something just came across my my phone here. Make sure I'm reading this correctly. All right, Mike Hilton's getting a second round tender.
Nice.
All right, so I like that. At least if we lose him, we get 2 seconds.
Right. That's not bad.
And at that point, let's be real. You can trade 2 seconds for pretty much anybody in the NFL right now.
That's very true, especially when we got shit going on like this.
Yeah.
Moving on from that fucking crazy shit, and we're going to go on to the other big news of the free agency, which was, well, before I even say it, Diggs tweeted, "It's time for a new beginning," and they made that happen, and they shipped him to Buffalo. And me personally, I love the move for Buffalo because this is, like we said earlier in the show, this just solidifies them as the new champion of the AFC East, because I don't think there's a team that's going to beat them now when you add more weapons like them, because that was a team to be reckoned with last year with the defense they played, Josh Allen playing great. You got Beasley, you got
John
Brown, and now you add Hopkins.
Speaking of underrated tight ends, Dawson Knox is legit.
Right, exactly. I mean, this team is going to be something.
What's nice is I appreciate what Buffalo's doing, not for adding Diggs, but they understand that their flaws can be very easily replaced in this draft.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just O-line depth. You don't need to waste a receiver. That defense is fucking loaded. And they're only going to get better over the next couple of years. Tre'Davious White's 24?
Yep.
And Oliver's 22.
Mm-hmm.
Tremaine Edmonds is 23?
23.
Right. The core, that whole defense is like under 25. Micah
Exactly.
Hyde's like 28. He's still got plenty of years left.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that team is
That's
set up.
going to be interesting.
And Josh Allen's fucking 23.
Right. Exactly.
Singletary's 22. The
Mm-hmm.
whole team. Frank Gore, is he even there anymore?
Where's Frank? No, yeah, I believe he's still there. I believe he still has
Jesus
another
Christ.
year or so. He's
Christ.
still doing something there too, which is other interesting stuff. What do you think about it for Minnesota? Why do you think they were willing to just let it go and take the picks?
Well, again, this is the year. So now you give a team like Minnesota 2 first-round picks, and they're in fairly tight quarters with each other.
Right.
So at least you can replace Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Thielen, in my opinion, is the better receiver
Especially
in
in
that system.
Yeah.
Diggs for Buffalo is exactly the type of receiver they needed because John Brown's a streak specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Thielen's the more important receiver. You have Dalvin Cook. Rudolph can run the middle. You can find you're not going to get CeeDee Lamb. You're probably not going to get Judy from Bama.
Yeah.
But now you're in a position where you might be able to scoop up a guy like Ruggs
Mm-hmm.
who can do everything Diggs did but faster.
Right. Exactly.
I like it when trades make sense. And again, basically the opposite of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
But it makes total sense for Buffalo. Makes total sense for the Vikings. That divorce is that you
Exactly.
everything
That's
was
what
on the
was not
fucking
going to
wall.
be my point. It was needed. It was
Yeah.
very needed. Where do you think it was going?
Right. And for what it's worth, I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota still has now, other high draft picks like second rounds. You got to get Dalvin Cook some help because he can't stay healthy. He's not Le'Veon Bell. He's not Zeke. He's just not that durable. He's just not durable.
They can definitely build in the draft for sure.
Yeah, and even then, Linval Joseph is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they just cut him, so clearly they're not going to re-sign him.
Mm-hmm.
But for what it's worth, D tackles. Again, not everyone's going to get Fletcher Cox. Not everyone's going to get Chris Jones or Grady Jarrett, but at least you can find a guy like Hargrave
Mm-hmm.
who can just come cheaper and do the job.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable.
Yeah. So like we said, we both agree that this was one of the fair trades that we saw, unlike the Texans trade, and something that works out for both teams, and both teams are going to progress hopefully from this. Another trade. Well, it's not even in a trade. Before we even get into some of these other things, I wanted to mention this: the Panthers allowing Cam Newton to seek a trade. Where are some of the places you can see Cam Newton going and fitting?
I don't see him doing well in New England at all. I understand. So again, you're coming off of Brady, who at a bare minimum is a super fiery competitor.
Right.
Every time I think of Cam Newton, he has won MVP. And I always think back to that fumble in the Super Bowl. That shit will not fly in New England.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I don't think Cam Newton is wired well enough for New England. It takes a Garoppolo. It takes a Brady. I'm not saying Garoppolo is some great fucking quarterback, but it takes a certain mentality I just don't think Cam has. Honestly, send him to the Chargers.
Chargers.
Again, if every move the Chargers make, you got to fill fucking seats.
Yeah.
You just have to. Cam Newton at a bare minimum will at least make people pretend that they give a fuck about the Chargers for at least a couple weeks. That at a bare minimum, to me, is a win. You have to explore that. Other than that, I don't see him doing well in a place like Chicago. Because, again, there's no symbiotic traits between Trubisky and fucking Cam Newton.
Right. I hear that.
He's not going to take a backup job.
No.
And I don't and a team like, let's say, Denver, where Locke is destined to start,
Yep.
they're not going to bring in a guy like Cam Newton. The Colts filled their gap. Tennessee's got riding with Tannehill. All signs are at this point are leading to probably the Chargers or some shitty fucking team like the Redskins, who would rather draft another quarterback.
I think they just actually re-signed Case Keenum.
Keenum went to the Browns.
Browns. That was the Browns you went to. That's right.
Yeah, but again, the Browns wouldn't even fucking take him.
For me, I think I see what your point was about the Patriots, but I think it could work for him for this reason. The reason why I say it could work for him in New England is because of what you said. Everybody remembers him for those reasons. For him only winning one MVP, which we can't, just poo-poo. He did win a MVP, and it was a spectacular year for him. But our last memory of him was the Super Bowl, which where he looked like a little bitch not diving for the Super Bowl. I mean, for the ball when you're playing in the biggest game you can ever play in. So that's one thing that I think. I don't know that much about Bill Belichick's coaching methods as far as one-on-one with a player. I know he treats everyone the same, so I know he would bring that same intensity and keeping everyone leveled with Cam Newton.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to see how that evolves because we know Cam Newton is somebody that likes attention and shit like that. But hopefully his mindset can change based off of the past few years where his name's been in the mud and he needs to change it. So hopefully that I could see that working out if he has the right mindset and Bill Belichick can get in his head and, change that for him. But I do like the Chargers. I definitely like that. And I'm 50-50 when it comes to the Bears. I was high on the Bears at first, but the more I look at it and the more that you spoke about it, I don't know how great that would work out. But the Chargers would be nice. And again, I don't see him taking a backup role.
Yeah.
Cam
Newton's see that's the problem. Cam Newton's not going to take a backup role.
Yeah.
The only real job openings that are at least. I mean, I could also see Cam maybe going to Miami because they have the pick capital to do that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a coach like Flores, who was a New England disciple. Again, this is weird. Like again, to counter my own argument, could Belichick get through to Cam Newton and coach him up better than Rivera? Probably. However, Cam Newton likes attention. Right. Belichick hates those players.
Right.
Brady earned his attention. It was he never showed up dressed like a fucking complete idiot to a press conference.
Right. Absolutely.
In Miami, that could probably work.
Another team that just popped in my head, if he didn't go there, if Brady didn't go to the Bucs,
he would have.
I could actually see Cam going there too. Yeah. That would have worked there too. Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think happens with Jameis?
I think you might have mentioned it, him ending up in a backup role for who did you mention?
With Pittsburgh.
For Pittsburgh. I think that's a good place. I think wherever he goes, I think it'll be a backup place. Yeah. Unless it's like Miami or something like that, one of those bottom tier teams. I could see him going in a backup place like Cincinnati if they're not, because from what I'm hearing that Burrow is not completely sold on getting drafted by Cincinnati unless they keep AJ and.
Well, they tagged AJ.
They tagged him, right? They tagged him.
I mean, for what it's worth, Joe Burrow could do a hell of a lot worse. If AJ Green actually stays healthy, they have a decent receiving core. That's not
right.
there.
They got Ross, that rookie,
and Tyler Boyd, who's the most slept-on receiver in the NFL because of who he plays for.
Absolutely.
But,
Winston could end up in a place and actually find a starting job because. Yeah. He had a bad season. I'm not going to be stupid and say that, he wasn't terrible this year, but he's also a quarterback that can throw the ball. He's a gunslinger. If find him the right coach, the right
Yeah.
system and things like that, I think he'll be in a better position to win.
Yeah.
But based off of what was going on and his personal life and in Tampa and coaching and shit like that, things just didn't work out. But I think if you find him the right place, the right pieces and things like that, I don't want to say he's going to be, top tier, but he'll progress. He'll progress. Where do you see him?
If I'm being 100% honest, I think the most sense for him is backing up Ben with, let's just say if you're Jameis and you get a 4-year offer from Pittsburgh, you're going to hate the money everywhere you go because you're being told you're worth more, but the market says otherwise. You can't beat what the market is telling you.
Right.
So if you come to terms with reality, you could start for the Chargers. You could probably start with Miami, but they would rather draft like Tua or Justin Herbert.
Right.
The Steelers, for 2 years, you could sit, learn, probably get more snaps than you think because who knows how Ben's health is going to hold up.
Very
but
true.
Jameis at his worst is miles ahead of Mason Rudolph.
Oh, yeah.
You're the clear-cut number 2 there. And if Mason Rudolph gets butthurt and wants out, fine. Fucking let him go. We all like Duck better anyway. But for what it's worth, they're the same fucking quarterback except for skin color.
Right.
Everything is the same.
Right.
It just it makes the most sense. And the playbook ain't going anywhere. So for what it's worth, even if Finkner gets fired for some reason, we're going to build a playbook around an up-tempo, downfield throwing offense.
Right. Absolutely. That fits better.
And, assuming we're going to take a receiver in the draft, at least second or third round at the latest, it's not like we have nobody.
Right.
Why not? I mean, Tampa just told you they don't want you. That's abundantly clear. You're not taking a job from a $30 million a year quarterback.
No way.
Right. So at this point, it's either do you want to die a slow death? I think he's a terrible mix for the Chargers. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't like that match at all. I just don't.
Yeah.
New England could help him, probably. I don't see New England settling.
Right, exactly.
I think they would rather, in my head, they would rather trade for Newton, who at least we've seen can be an elite passing quarterback. Jameis, no. That's all I'm getting at. I don't see that working.
No, I hear you 100% on that.
Yeah, and if the Chargers at this point, because we've mentioned them like 8,000 times, the Chargers at this point are better off taking their draft pick and just drafting a quarterback. Just fucking do it. If anything, let me pull up the draft order because they got to be somewhere close to the top 10, if not in the top 10. Which, by the way, I'm happy that the NFL is not canceling that.
Right.
I'm also very happy that the NFL is no longer suspending for weed. But my question is, does that mean Martavis Bryant can come back?
Right.
What about Josh Gordon?
I mean, there's a lot of guys that.
Here's another name that everyone forgot about. What about Aldon Smith?
Oh, yeah.
Aldon Smith is like 26, 27.
Yeah, he's retired.
He ain't that old. He could play.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, the Chargers pick at 6. Miami's in front of them. So realistically, if you're the Chargers, let's see. If you're the fucking Chargers, the Bengals are going to take Burrow. The Redskins, who knows? The Lions might be fucked because Stafford might want out. The Giants are probably not taking a quarterback.
No.
Yeah, the 6th spot is a bad spot for them. Because the covetable quarterback. You're not going to take, you're not going to take the kid from Utah State at 6. That's too high. If anything, you can get him on the wraparound in the second round, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm LA, trade up with the Redskins.
Yeah, try to get up higher.
Yeah, take that 2 pick and just if possible, or at least get ahead of Miami.
Yeah,
Trade up at the bare minimum. Trade up with the Giants. Get the 4 pick. Block out Miami and go get Tua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they need to make a big move.
That's at least a reasonable move, and you have weapons. It's not like you're useless. It's just
right. Exactly. That's why they need to make
just declining.
Exactly. They just got to make moves in order to put themselves in the best position.
Yeah, right.
To utilize those moves, those guys that they got.
Yeah.
The next question I have for you is, why do you think the Tennessee Titans decided to stick with Ryan Tannehill for the long haul, 4 years, $112 million, I think, $62 million guaranteed? What was your thoughts on that?
I think
another thing that we're
it was abundantly clear that the Mariota experiment just didn't work.
Didn't work, absolutely.
And again, if we're speaking from the New England coaching tree, I think Vrabel was abundantly clear and understood that a pocket quarterback with a good old line can do well when given weapons. Delaney Walker's gone. That's for the best anyway. Jonnu Smith, another super underrated tight end. A.J. Brown is a stud.
Yes.
Corey Davis is better because of A.J. Brown.
Yep.
They have, and Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry.
Yep.
They don't need Deion Lewis anymore. Deion Lewis was only a factor with Mariota.
Yep.
So he's got the pieces to succeed, and they lost Conklin. Whoop-de-fucking-do. This is a huge O-line draft. You can replace Conklin.
Right.
All the pieces to make Tannehill successful are already there. That's why I think it's reasonable to retain him, probably overpay him, but at least retain his services because he fits your system. This has always been the argument with Brady, and we can bring this up on the debate podcast.
Right.
Was Brady a system guy, or was the system Brady?
Absolutely.
When it comes to Tannehill, he fits the system too perfectly. Just what it is.
I agree. I think he fits the system, and they saw that, midway through or whenever it was, I think December or something like that, he came in and life changed for them, and so they want to stick with it. My only disagreement would be, not in the disagreement with you, but with the Titans, is the money, how much they gave him. I think that was a little bit much, but hey, it is what it is. They're happy with what he was able to do for them, so they decided to reward him for that. And he's not a bad quarterback at all. So, like you said, he fits. They have the pieces. They added a big piece on defense, so that defense has only gotten stronger with Vic Beasley. So I think
let's also not forget Jeffrey Simmons. Now that he's healthy, fucking animal. Yeah,
absolutely. I was just wondering what were your thoughts on that, because everyone had mixed emotions about Ryan Tannehill getting that big contract. But it makes sense. It makes sense. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the Raiders. The Raiders now, we know, we mentioned them before, John Gruden taking over the team and making a shitload of moves the past few years. And we know what his thoughts are on his quarterback, not trusting him too much. And he went out and signed Marcus Mariota, who we just spoke about. So it's going to be interesting to see what his thoughts on Mariota are. because I don't see that much of a difference. He's obviously he's a little bit more mobile than Carr and faster and shit like that, but I don't think he's that much of a better pocket passer or anything like that to make that much of a difference over Carr. So
I'll tell you exactly. Here's the difference. We saw in Hard Knocks that the Raiders behind Carr don't really have much.
mm-hmm.
Case in point, they brought in Peterman.
Right.
And Glennon's there. Neither one of them have been useless for a considerable amount of time, or useful rather. Mariota, at a bare minimum, is a better insurance policy than Mike Glennon.
For sure. But do you think that's why they brought him there?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Mariota couldn't keep his job over fucking Tannehill.
Right.
Who at the time was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Tannehill fixed his own reputation. Mariota, the skill is there.
Right.
It's not like he's useless. It's just
I feel like it was a move so that way they can get rid of Carr. I think that's what the move was for John Gruden, because I really don't think he trusts Carr, and he's been, I don't want to say vocal about it, but most people, the insiders, know that he's not sold on his quarterback as far as Carr. So the move to Mariota for me was just another way of him telling the team and Carr, look, I don't trust you, and the minute you mess up again, you're gonna be out of here. So,
well, let's just say they go into camp and open up the QB competition.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Carr is gonna win because he's a better passer.
Right.
Mariota, to me, equates almost like Pat White, where he can run, can't take a hit.
Right.
So at a bare minimum, what's the good of a running quarterback that can't fucking hold on to the football?
Yeah.
Or throws a lot more picks than the guy who's already there.
Right. And another thing that just popped into my head that they could be using him for is like kind of how like they used him with Tennessee and, put him in the Wildcat and things like that. Different things. So there's a lot of different ways you can use Mariota that we're starting to see with quarterbacks like the Tatum from the Saints and shit like that. So there's other ways of utilizing these quarterbacks. And like you said, it could be for sure for insurance. So
I don't see Mariota being a competitive starting quarterback.
Right.
I'll take him as at this point, him and Jameis are at the same exact point in their career, except Mariota got a job first.
Mm-hmm.
But Mariota was, I think, smarter in just realizing his role in the NFL right now is to just be a backup.
Yep.
Or be a gadget guy. Jameis will never be a gadget guy. To me, Jameis is a better insurance policy than Mariota. But Mariota was smart enough to wake up and smell the roses.
Right. Very true. Another move that was not big news, but something to mention, is Teddy Bridgewater finally getting his possibly getting another spot. I think that's another team that's going to have another quarterback competition in the off season, which would be Teddy Bridgewater and what's his name?
Let me squash this for you real quick. You didn't just pay Teddy Bridgewater to have him compete for a starting job.
Right.
Kyle Allen's not a better quarterback than Bridgewater.
You know where I messed up? I'm reading my notes and I thought I had Phillip Rivers gone to the Colts. I thought he went to the Colts for some reason. So I was thinking of Brissett, not Allen. So you're absolutely right. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to the Panthers for a back role. So he's definitely going to be the starter.
Yeah. And again, Brissett,
they need that.
I'll tell you what, the most fascinating trade chip I think left in the NFL who's not a receiver is Brissett. Because there's going to be teams that wanted to draft quarterback that probably, if let's say you're a team in the middle of the first round and your guys are gone, I'm
Yeah.
calling Indy and be like, what's this going to cost?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. For sure. Speaking of the Colts, they signed Philip Rivers. Nothing big. We know Philip Rivers is not the same quarterback, but just to let the fans know that he did find a home, and he will be in Indianapolis. Um, any other trades that you want to speak on that were pretty big to you?
Um, the Calais Campbell deal came at an odd time.
That was big. That was big.
That's the most Baltimore move of all time. Case in
Oh
point,
yeah,
Peters.
right. They're making moves for that division
Baltimore is the most quick triggered team in the world, but it works out for them most of the time.
most of the time for sure.
So I don't. I mean, that to me just kind of fell through the cracks after, especially DeAndre and Diggs.
Yeah.
And now Brady signing.
Yep.
But that trade, for what it's worth, is at least that's going to pay off.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Just some other mentionable ones that for other fans that didn't know. Um, Randall Cobb to the Texans.
Whoop-de-fucking do. You replace DeAndre Hopkins with Randall fucking Cobb.
Randall Cobb. Exactly.
They can't even run the same routes.
Cobb is not the same anymore. Bears land Jimmy Graham. So now he has a
Yeah,
one more of
nice to see that Trey Burton overpay worked out real well for you. Good job.
Here's a trade that I liked. The Colts getting Bruckner. That wasn't a bad.
That one, I'm happy you brought that one up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk about trades that work out for both parties?
Mm-hmm.
That one was huge.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think they knew, the Niners knew that Armstead was the better D tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But they knew they weren't going to have the money to pay Bosa probably after this season, and also pay him.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good move.
Yeah, because that entire defense relies on that 4-3, and that we saw how that line and how good they are at drafting D line.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, and if you're the Colts, you're thrilled. You had the money to pay him. You extended him. He's happy. He's gonna start. It's a win-win.
And then the last one that it hasn't had. I mean, there's more trades that we haven't even spoken of, but we're not going to get into all of those. But the one last thing that I do want to speak on as far as the free agency, and it has to do with the Cowboys, is we haven't really spoken about Byron Jones. I'm okay with Byron Jones being gone, going to Miami. Okay, fine. Overpaid for damn sure, but good for him. He's a good cornerback. It would have been nice to have kept him for another year and let him see what else.
Can we also have I've mentioned on this podcast, I'm thrilled to have Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
You now have in Miami Byron Jones. Xavier Howard is severely underrated, and so is Rashad Jones.
Yep.
If they kept Minkah, they had a legitimate good secondary.
Oh yeah, they did. They had a really good secondary, and they let that go.
Well, for what it's worth, Minkah clearly wasn't happy.
Yeah, he wanted to get out.
And he loves being a Steeler.
Yeah, for sure.
If you follow him on Instagram or Twitter, he loves where he is. So
life changed for him a little bit there. You know, he was winning.
Trades that work out for people.
Exactly.
I wish we had our first, but I have 3 more years of him. I'll take it.
Exactly. But what I was saying was the reason why I'm not so. One of the things that will make this letting Jones go feel better is if we go get Chris Harris. We need to go get Chris Harris. That will make me feel 10 times better.
Yeah, if that's the thinking, that would make sense. He's also not going to cost you as much just on age.
Right. Exactly.
If that's what ends up happening, I completely agree.
Yep. That's all I want. Come on, Jones, make it happen. You didn't make everything.
You also need safeties, though.
Yes, we do.
And there's none of that flying around.
Exactly.
So you guys, you pick at what?
I want to say 16, 14, something like that. In
Okay,
between there.
so you're in no position where you're gonna get the kid from Clemson.
No. Oh no, we're nowhere near. I wish.
Yeah, right.
I
So
wish.
yeah, there's no way in hell you're getting Simmons, and I have not seen a single kid in this year's draft who I'm gonna say is. I mean, honestly, wouldn't be shocked if you guys took a flyer on Delpit.
I could see that happening.
Well, again, at a bare minimum, if you reach for Delpit, it's at least for an LSU DB, which usually works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's very true. No, that's true. That's
And
true.
Heath is Heath.
Yeah, right. Heath is Heath.
Right.
But we definitely need to move on.
But if you have a Wouzier and Chris Harris, you're fine.
Right. Other than that, is there any other trades that you wanted to mention, or that's pretty much it?
Nothing really of note. I'm trying to just think in my head if there's anything that needs attention that hasn't really gone spoken on.
That's. I mean, we'll have more days for.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I'm surprised Clowney hasn't got signed with the Giants yet.
Yeah.
And not only have they not signed yet, I haven't heard a fucking thing.
I heard that it's in the works, so I think maybe by tomorrow it'll probably happen.
Yeah, probably.
It'll probably happen. It looks like it's going that way.
The only other thing I would say needs attention, and I know the Jets went and signed McGovern.
Mm-hmm.
You had $80 million in cap, spent virtually none of it.
Yeah.
So if you're telling your fans we're gonna fix this through the draft, you better not fuck this up.
Yeah, you can't fuck it up. You can't fuck it up.
Also, just trade Le'Veon.
Yeah.
I feel like that. If there's you know how you mentioned how Diggs had to go.
Right.
I don't think Bell and Gase will ever see eye to eye.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either.
And I know damn well who would take him back.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, if DeAndre can go for a second, Le'Veon can go for a third.
That's true. That's very true. So moving on to the last topic of the day, and that is that the CBA, it was approved by the players after a vote on Sunday or something like that. Yeah, it was close, but eventually being approved. So that means that we're going to see 2 more teams in the playoffs. We're going to see an extra game in 2021.
No weed.
No suspension for weed. More money for the players, the minimum salaries and things like that. And a lot of people have mixed emotions about it. So I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts on that? For 10 years too. This is for the next 10 years.
I'm happy that there's not going to be a strike for at least the next decade.
Right.
I'm more concerned. Concern's probably the wrong word. I'm surprised at how close the vote was, but I'm not reading the 500-page proposal.
Question. No way.
It seemed that most of the hang-up was on the 17th game.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, all the players that I saw that were against it were the guys that get hurt anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I understand. It's not like you're making it a 20-game season. Like, let's be 100% real here. Football is what it is. You know what the risks are, especially by the time you get to the NFL. You know what you're doing. You know what league you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what position you play. You know the risks associated.
Right.
If you get hurt, go get high.
Yeah, you can now.
Yeah, but as a fan, I'm happy. I mean, how could you not? I mean, there's more games and less striking.
Right. for me, I have mixed emotions about it, and I think it'll all change as it goes on. But for me, my thing for being against it, at least in some aspect, was I don't want to see even my team. Like for example, if this were to be were to be passed last year, my Dallas Cowboys, your Pittsburgh Steelers, who are obviously better than my team, but my team would have been in the playoffs. Did anybody want to see the Cowboys in the playoffs this year? No, because we weren't playoff worthy. Even if we were, no one even wanted to see the Eagles in the playoffs.
Well, that's the other thing. And I'm amazed I forgot to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
You've devalued the playoffs.
Right. That's my problem.
And we've seen MLB speculate about opening up the doors and the proverbial floodgate.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, it's better for everybody. It's gonna bring in more revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
The players that are gonna be pissed are the guys that are under contract for the next 5 years because they can't get any of that money.
Right.
But
yeah,
if you are an incoming college freshman, assuming that coronavirus goes away by August,
mm-hmm.
You're thrilled because by the time you make the leap, you're in a position where the rookie deals are going to go up. The signing bonuses for first rounders are going to go up.
Absolutely.
If the NFL, I think the NFL needs to be more like the NBA, where it's player dominant,
right.
In more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be the NBA where it's the inmates running the prison.
Exactly.
There's a way that they can coexist, and we've seen most of these owners, except for like the fucking Bengals, have no problem throwing money around, and have at least shown a willingness to do it to at least players that are worthy of the money. We know Jerry Jones is gonna fucking offer money to players like Dak, whether or not he accepts, that's his fucking problem.
Right.
But the league needed to be more player friendly. It's becoming more player friendly,
sure.
And I think, and again, the NFL with the for years is concussions and this and that. If you get the biggest thing was this weed thing, in my opinion, that probably won the vote.
Yeah,
you're at least allowing players who are sacrificing their long-term health the opportunity to at least treat themselves in a way where they're not going to get addicted to fucking painkillers.
Exactly.
That at least, to me, is enormous.
And you're talking about younger guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about younger guys. So it's weed is gonna appeal to them more than it is, say health benefits and stuff like that, which, you would be nice too. But generation we're in, weed is going to appeal more, especially for like the reasons you said, not getting addicted to all these medications that you have to take prior to the game, forget after the game.
Well, specifically Kyle Turley, Arian Foster, and Ricky Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They've made it abundantly clear that these guys are going to do it anyway, and they were risking their salary to treat themselves in a way that they were more comfortable with long term.
Exactly.
We've seen again, I give the NBA credit for laying a model of how to run a league that's immensely successful.
Yep.
But there is such a thing as too much control.
Yeah, absolutely.
The NFL doesn't need to take that and run with it, but at least the NFL is getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's on, like you said, it's getting better, and it's all for the better of the players, the fans, and everyone involved. So hopefully, in the next 10 years, and we'll still be running, and we'll talk about this and say this CBA worked out, and it's time for a new one that we can improve even better for the next 10 years. So
you're right.
It'll be interesting to see how the next 10 years goes, but it'll definitely be fun because we're going to see more football. So you can't complain if you're a football fan. More football for us is more more fun and more things to talk about, more excitement and things like that.
Yeah.
For
Also,
sure.
the impact on fantasy football is going to be amazing too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to have an impact there for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Do you?
Nope.
All right, so that's a wrap for this episode. Once again, new series, Jones of the Sports podcast. That's debatable, coming out very soon. Check it out. Me, Ian, Luke debating all types of sports topics. Really debating it too, not just going off the top of our mind. We're going to actually sit down and do our research on these topics and really go at each other's heads. So,
well, not to say we don't research already. We're not just
right. We're exactly
to the wind, but
exactly. But this is going to be more in depth.
This is much more deep than just kind of scratching the surface.
Exactly.
I just to give you guys a little taste of what have been tossed around in terms of ideas. The U.S. women's soccer protest is on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Even the different leagues' handling of the coronavirus can be discussed from specifically the NCAA standpoint.
Yep.
There's a lot of shit here that
history stuff,
especially in the absence of sports.
Yeah,
it's gonna lean towards us digging for shit.
Right, exactly. We'll go back into some of the old days and talk about who were the greatest of their eras. And,
I was already gonna say, me and you are gonna have a fight to the death. LeBron and Jordan.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have some great topics. And one of the best parts about it is we're gonna have some of the guests, some of our followers join us. So if you're
that's 100% happening.
Yep. If you want to get down and you want to debate me, Luke, and E, come join us. We'd love to have you guys. So
especially if you guys are gonna have the balls to come at us for specifically a baseball conversation, I am willing and ready to battle anyone on an MLB debate. And speaking of MLB, just be on the lookout for the Take It Deep podcast, which once baseball eventually decides to play their fucking games, me and E will be breaking that down. We got a lot of good feedback on the interview we did with John Updike.
Yes, we did.
From Baseball Cloud. So yeah, we're trying to look for those types of interviews as well, just in the baseball realm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're trying to do do our due diligence here, provide the content that y'all expect and we want. So
right.
And
yep.
Yeah,
so be on the lookout for all those things, and you know where to find it: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and am I forgetting one?
Instagram,
YouTube, and Facebook. I forgot Facebook. But yeah, so that's where to find it, and you already know. So it's your boy Jones, my boy Luke, Locker Room Sundays. Peace.